Breaking tonight, Canada's teen tennis sensation Victoria Mboko wins it all. Her remarkable rise from wild card to champion. And Canadians are thrilled.
She's amazing, absolutely amazing.
Where does she go from here? CBC News obtains new internal data showing a spike in hateful conduct in Canada's military.
Something I probably shouldn't say on CBC, but pisses me off.
How the head of the Army is responding. Costco digital gift cards suddenly and mysteriously drained of cash.
There were $0 on there. I was very upset.
The customers fight for answers and refunds.
From CBC News, this is The National with Heather Hiscox.
Thank you for joining us. Adrian is away. Well, what a night. What a tournament for breakout Canadian tennis star Victoria Mboko. The 18-year-old has just won the National Bank Open, one of the top tennis tournaments in the world. Her victory, as emotional as it is remarkable. She burned through opponent after opponent, including 4 previous Grand Slam champions, on her way to the top and the trophy, the youngest Canadian ever to win. And she did it in spectacular fashion. Tonight's final was full of drama and magic, all of it playing out in front of an adoring home crowd in Montreal. Sarah Levitt takes us there.
A magnificent ending, a sold-out crowd, and a new Canadian tennis champion.
To do something like this and to tell my younger self that just to keep training, keep believing in yourself, and like, oh my God, I'm getting so emotional right now.
18-year-old Victoria Mboko has done what few thought possible at Montreal's National Bank Open, bringing fans in the stands and across the country along for the ride.
Her first victory.
Mboko just
She's got it.
kept winning 6 matches just to get to the final, most in dominant fashion.
Match point.
Along the way, she beat multiple Grand Slam champions, eventually becoming the youngest Canadian woman to ever reach the final.
You know, Montreal tennis fans are generally pretty great. Definitely a very, very special, electric atmosphere.
Victoria Mboko.
The stands absolutely jam-packed for the final. Compare that to her first match. A week and a half ago, did you know who Mboko was?
No, I did not.
Not at all.
Honestly, I didn't know who she was.
What do you think of her now?
She's amazing, absolutely amazing.
She has all the full package.
Even in Toronto, where the men's tournament is being held, Mboko was on people's minds.
I got in major trouble yesterday because I was here and I was watching from a box, and I had the game on my phone, and she won the second set, and I went, yeah, just as Vera was serving.
I wish it was here so we could watch it.
Before this showdown, Mboko had never played former world #1 Naomi Osaka. She considered the Japanese superstar one of her tennis idols. Now it's Osaka watching the Canadian rise.
And I was low-key like, that's my little twin, because we both have our blue dresses and like our buns and everything. I'm really honored. I always said that I'd love to play someone that like looked up to me in a way.
And in Toronto tonight, play stopped at the men's tournament to acknowledge Mboko's incredible win. It was her second straight comeback, but with her now obvious nerves of steel, she did it.
Got the big signs, Allez Vicky, behind you there, Sarah, as you're reporting with us. We saw those in the stands. We saw her family in the stands, too, living every point with Victoria. I know you spoke to her mother afterward. What did she say?
You know, she told me she was without words, but she quickly found them to say how proud she was of her daughter. She said she always knew she was an enormous talent. And you know what, Heather? She also took the time to say that she really appreciated what she called Montreal's stupendous support.
Sarah, thank you so much for all of this. Sarah from Montreal. Well, there's a lot more to say about Victoria Mboko and her phenomenal rise in women's tennis. We're going to hear from one of her childhood coaches and from the Canadian who just happens to run the U.S. Open, which is next for her. That conversation just minutes away. Now to a CBC News exclusive. The Canadian military is facing a resurgence in hateful and racist conduct within the ranks. We've obtained internal data that shows the number of reported incidents spiked last year. Ashley Burke has those numbers and the reaction from the Army's commander.
Guns, explosives, ammunition. One of the largest weapons cache ever seized in a terrorism case on Canadian soil. 4 men with ties to the military charged last month over an alleged plot to take over Quebec land.
I can talk about the Army.
In his first broadcast interview about the case, the Army's commander says incidents like this are causing self-harm.
I think the soldiers of the Canadian Army should be as livid as I am about the impact that this is having on their reputation.
New data obtained by CBC News shows a resurgence of hateful conduct last year. The Defense Department figures reveal that since the military cracked down on hateful conduct in 2020, the number of incidents dropped year after year, but then spiked again in 2024. Most of the claims are of intimidation, threats, and involvement in hate propaganda.
There's a link between that rise and the election of Donald Trump.
They're poisoning the blood of our country.
Trump's anti-immigration rhetoric and opposition to diversity and inclusion is empowering some, according to this professor. He says he interviewed a former Canadian Armed Forces member just like this.
He said he went into the military to learn how to kill brown and black people. And that was, to me, very disturbing.
Experts say the military is still predominantly white men, which makes it especially vulnerable
to those sorts of narratives that are trying to explain or trying to convince them somehow that white men have been left behind.
Lieutenant General Mike Wright says hateful conduct must be rooted out.
Something I probably shouldn't say on CBC, but pisses me off, is that the important work that the Canadian Army needs to do to modernize, our eye is being taken off that, our focus is being taken off that, so we can deal with completely unacceptable and inappropriate behavior.
Lieutenant General Wright says he's touring bases across the country this month, and this is now the first issue that he plans on talking to the Army about. The military has made a series of changes in recent years, including now having a longer probationary period to try and weed out problematic new recruits.
Ashley, what else do we know about how these cases are being handled?
Well, Heather, the military often handles these incidents internally with its own administrative and disciplinary process. The data we obtained shows that over the past 5 years, there have been 364 hateful conduct incidents reported, and so far, only 21 of them have led to military members being kicked out.
Ashley, thank you. Ashley Burke is in Ottawa. Stunning allegations out of Winnipeg tonight. Police accusing one of their own of drug trafficking, stealing ammunition, and taking and distributing an intimate photo of a deceased woman. Cameron McIntosh joins me now from Winnipeg. Cam, this is a senior officer who's now accused of serious crimes on and off the job. What are the details on this so far?
Well, Heather, Constable Elston Bostick is a 22-year veteran of the Winnipeg Police Service who was honored last year by the Governor General with a medal for exemplary service. But just a few months later, Winnipeg police arrested him for theft, obstruction of justice, and breach of trust. 8 counts in all. The investigation didn't stop there. He now faces 10 more counts on new charges, including drug trafficking.
We understand the damage this does to public trust. Trust which must be earned every day. And that is what we intend to do.
Winnipeg Police Chief Gene Bowers says the charges stem from events dating back to 2016.
These allegations are clearly...
It's a long list, including indignity to human remains and knowingly distributing an intimate image, alleging Bostick shared a photo of a partially clothed dead woman.
No organization is immune to individual misconduct. It is our responsibility to confront it and act decisively, which we have done.
Other charges include break and enter, theft under $5,000, 6 counts of breach of trust, 3 counts of obstruction of justice, along with 84 incidents of drug trafficking, resulting in 5 drug-related charges.
These are very serious allegations which go directly against the values of the Winnipeg Police Service, tarnishing our reputation and eroding the public's confidence within our service.
3 other officers face related charges, 2 charged in November, 1 charged Wednesday. All 4 officers are on administrative leave. None of the allegations have been proven in court. Now, as for that Governor General's Medal for exemplary service, Rideau Hall says it's awarded to officers who served 20 years characterized by good service. Constable Bostic received it while he was being investigated by his own police force. Heather?
Cameron, thank you. Cameron McIntosh in Winnipeg. A wildfire raging in Newfoundland is forcing another 900 people out of their homes.
Individuals in the communities will be ordered to evacuate, and they will be asked to move and register at the Carbonear Academy.
The residents of Ochre Pit Cove and Salmon Cove in Conception Bay North have been ordered to evacuate. That fire is one of 3 burning out of control in the province. Support will soon be coming from the Canadian Armed Forces and the Coast Guard. Tonight, Israel's government has now approved a full military takeover of Gaza. The goal backed by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, but against the advice of some in Israel's military and warnings from the UN. Senior correspondent Susan Ormiston reports from Jerusalem on the plan and the pushback.
Protesters chant, "You failed," as the Israeli cabinet considers a full-scale occupation of Gaza.
If they retake Gaza, lives of the hostages are further in danger. Society as a whole in Israel is in danger.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, without a viable ceasefire, wants a battle in the heart of Gaza,
a security perimeter,
against the advice of top military officials.
We intend to, in order to assure our security, remove Hamas there, enable the population to be free of Gaza, and to pass it to civilian governance.
Pushing for a 4 to 5 month mission to extend Israeli military control to the whole of Gaza, to rout Hamas out of the areas it still holds, especially in and around Gaza City.
It's not like
Deputy Foreign Minister Shireen Haskel told us today Israel has run out of options.
And when we understand now that there isn't a path, a diplomatic path, there isn't a ceasefire we can reach with Hamas because they don't want one, then we will go into a military campaign and we will finish to clean the areas from Hamas.
The first phase of such a plan would demand the evacuation of Gaza City, nearly 1 million people displaced again. On the street, despair. We're tired. We can't carry tents or our children. Najla Abu Jarad says, "I want to die here in front of my tent, more honorable than having them move us from area to area." The humanitarian crisis is growing. In July, 12,000 children under age 5 suffered acute malnutrition, according to the World Health Organization.
It will get worse. We'll see more people dying, more people starving. The world needs to take very seriously this Israel announcement. The situation is already something that humanity is not supposed to accept.
With many fearing the remaining hostages would be sacrificed.
Susan, what is Israel saying about the timing of a potential military campaign?
Well, according to that plan, it wouldn't start immediately, allowing time for those proposed evacuations out of places in Gaza. But the cabinet meeting went into the early hours of Friday morning, so it's still unclear what are the next steps.
Susan Ormiston in Jerusalem tonight. Thank you. Vladimir Putin appeared today to confirm an upcoming meeting with Donald Trump. The U.S. has threatened Russia with economic consequences if there's no peace deal by Friday. Chris Reyes outlines what's at stake.
On the ground in Ukraine, little sign of Russian attacks easing. This week, Ukrainian officials reporting more strikes. Among the dead, children. While in Moscow, President Vladimir Putin seemed to confirm that meeting with President Donald Trump suggested soon after his visit with the U.S. Special Envoy earlier this week. Both sides showed their interest, Putin said, hinting the UAE might host the meeting. On when, a Kremlin aide would only say approximately next week. Trump has been just as vague.
They would like to meet with me, and I'll do whatever I can to stop the killing.
The possibility of a summit between the two leaders comes as Russia has ramped up its attacks on Ukraine this year. All of it angering Trump.
He talks nice and then he bombs everybody in the evening. So there's a little bit of a problem there, and I don't like it.
I would doubt that President Trump is going to say at a press conference after a meeting with Putin that he's crazy or out of his mind. It's going to be respectful. They're not going to have this meeting unless they believe there's something of substance to announce at the end.
A July Gallup poll suggests a significant shift in Ukrainian public opinion. Almost 3/4 say they're in favor of a negotiated end to the war, a huge increase from 3 years ago.
Best that you could hope for out of a meeting between the two presidents is an agreement to negotiate what you might call a framework agreement. That is a set of principles and parameters that would guide any final settlement of the war.
Seemingly left out of the Trump-Putin meet, President Volodymyr Zelensky, who's been visiting troops and making public statements about his own meetings with Trump and other European leaders. Putin says he's not against meeting Zelensky, but added, not anytime soon. Chris Reyes, CBC News, London.
At 1 minute past midnight, new U.S. tariffs kicked in for dozens of countries just days after Donald Trump increased some tariffs on Canada to 35%. Ontario Premier Doug Ford reminded Americans today how that's being viewed.
What's the general impression of Trump in Canada?
He's probably the most disliked politician in the world in Canada because he's attacked his closest family member, and that's the way we look at it.
The latest so-called Liberation Day tariffs are prompting pushback from all over the world. But as Karen Pauls reports, Trump argues the new revenue makes it all worthwhile.
Anger in India over 2 new tariffs from the U.S. By the end of the month, 25% for buying Russian oil, on top of the 25% so-called reciprocal tariff that kicked in at midnight. Prime Minister Narendra Modi defiant, saying India will never compromise. India is ready. This advisor to Donald Trump says they brought it on themselves.
This was a pure national security issue associated with India's abject refusal to stop buying Russian oil.
But India is far from alone. More than 60 countries hit on Thursday with new U.S. tariffs, sparking economic worry and pushback. Brazil has taken its 50% tariff rate to the World Trade Organization, saying it's political. Switzerland, reeling from its 39% tariff, is calling for the country to prepare for difficult times. The White House is aiming to cash in on it all, saying billions have already been raised.
I think we're going to be heading towards $50 billion a month in tariff revenue.
But the uncertainty of the global trade war is also starting to rattle the U.S. economy. Job growth has slowed, prices and inflation rising.
Instead of saving money in my bank account, I'm using it in groceries.
The timing, experts say, points to tariffs.
U.S. consumers are absorbing not all, but most of the cost of the tariffs. The remainder is probably almost all being shouldered by American businesses in the form of smaller margins, lower profits.
So I don't think we're going to look back on this in 50 years and say it was very productive.
Next on Trump's list, computer chips and semiconductors. He's threatening tariffs of up to 100% unless they're made in America. Karen Pauls, CBC News, Washington.
Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre is demanding the Prime Minister move faster on Canada's infrastructure projects.
We need shovels in the ground, and we need deadlines to make those shovels dig and get things done. This is a test of leadership. Now is a time for action.
Poilievre held a news conference in Alberta just over a week before a by-election where he hopes to regain a seat in the House of Commons. Advance voting in the riding begins on Friday. Poilievre called on Mark Carney to get several projects underway by next spring. He also promised new legislation to, quote, legalize pipelines to speed up construction. Costco customers stunned to find their digital gift cards mysteriously drained of funds.
Checked my balance and was shocked.
The flaw that fraudsters might be taking advantage of. A homecoming worthy of an NBA champion.
I'll never forget this. Thank you guys. I love you guys.
The latest highlight in an incredible year for Canadian Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And springing into action to save a pod of dolphins.
There was like 10 or 12.
We're back in 2. Scary moment caught in Poland, just west of Krakow. Police say the driver of the van incredibly escaped without injuries. A number of Costco customers were shocked to discover their digital gift cards had been drained of all their cash. Costco saying little about what happened, but Sophia Harris went digging and found the problem may be gift card fraud.
A number of Costco customers got a nasty surprise recently. They discovered all the money had been drained from their digital Costco gift cards, known as shop cards.
Went for my shopping trip that afternoon on the 23rd and then came home basically a few hours later and checked my balance and was shocked to find that there were $0 on there. I was very upset.
Shelley Hsu says she lost around $200 in June. There are dozens more customer complaints online about drained shop cards. CBC News spoke with 5 affected customers. They said Costco offered few details about what happened, and 2, including Hsu, are still fighting for a refund.
I've been really disappointed with how Costco has managed this situation. I've spent several hours over this issue already, and it's just unacceptable.
Costco didn't respond to repeated requests for comment.
The proper thing for Costco to do right now is to admit there's a problem and not let this fester.
In a letter sent to some victims, the retailer stated its ongoing investigation indicates that a limited number of digital shop cards may have been used by unauthorized individuals.
So I'm going to just type in the barcode number.
This tech analyst suggests fraudsters may have figured out the sequencing on Costco barcodes and recreated them.
Print.
Customers only need a copy of the barcode to use shop cards in stores.
It is relatively simple to recreate barcodes. All you need is some software that is free in some cases.
The Retail Council of Canada says each year Canadians lose millions of dollars due to gift card fraud. And sometimes the victims don't get their money back.
It is important that we create better mechanisms in place, more protection, and also remedies to make people whole that have been victimized by these fraudsters.
$200, that's a good chunk of money that I'm not willing to give up on.
As for Hsu, she's hopeful her refund is coming soon. Sophia Harris, CBC News, Toronto.
Canadian superstar Shai Gilgeous-Alexander returns home to a hero's welcome.
SGA! SGA! SGA!
His latest honor after one of the NBA's best seasons of all time. And more on Victoria Mboko's stunning run in Montreal. The National breaks down the story shaping our world next.
Hey everybody, Dean Cain here. And for those who don't know, I am a sworn law enforcement officer.
TV's Superman in the 90s, now revealing he plans to become an ICE officer, like the ones now rounding up people targeted for deportation. Homeland Security confirmed Cain, who is a big fan of Donald Trump, will be sworn in as an honorary officer. This is Shai Day in the city of Hamilton, a big welcome home for NBA superstar Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He's coming off a historic season with the Oklahoma City Thunder, and today Philip Lee Shannock shows us the celebrations and how he's inspiring young fans.
SGA! SGA!
It might as well be called Shai's Stadium. NBA superstar Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, or SGA as he's known, returning home to Hamilton, honored by the city where it all began. The mayor presented him with a key to the city.
Shai, you've inspired not just Hamilton, not just Canada, but fans all around the world, and you've done it with humility.
Fans came from near and far.
What are you guys here to see?
I came from China, Beijing, China.
I think it's really inspirational.
The 26-year-old All-Star was the first Canadian to be named Finals MVP.
Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Leading the Oklahoma City Thunder to the league championship, Gilgeous-Alexander also claimed the scoring title and regular season MVP. That puts him in rare company, alongside Shaquille O'Neal, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and Michael Jordan. He's only the second Canadian to be named league MVP. Steve Nash did it back-to-back in 2004 and 2005. And he helped Team Canada win bronze at the FIBA World Cup, Canada's first medal ever. But he's never forgotten where he's from.
I come home every summer and stay home every summer. I miss the people, the environment, the streets I grew up on.
He's a big role model for us Canadian basketball players. He shows us that we can achieve what we want. It means a lot to me because it shows me and obviously all my friends who play basketball too, that if we try our hardest, we can get to the league as well.
I'll never forget this. Thank you guys. I love you guys.
From the pride of McNabb's secondary to the NBA, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is proof that dreams can start anywhere. And with the LA Olympics just around the corner, Canada and SGA are just getting started. Philip Shannock, CBC News, Hamilton, Ontario.
Now let's break down the news that's shaping our world. Donald Trump's trash talk on trade reignites the dream of an all-Canadian car.
Well, I'd buy one. I'd buy one, and I'd make sure my kids buy one too.
But first, Victoria Mboko breaks through as Canada's next tennis star. How she got so good so young. And now that she's won the National Bank Open, what comes next? Joining me now, James Kwan, who's helped coach Victoria since she was a child at the Ace Tennis Academy in Burlington, Ontario, and Stacey Allister, the chief executive of the United States Tennis Association. She heads the U.S. Open. She is Canadian, though, and always keeps a very close watch on the game and the athletes here. So welcome to you both. And Stacey, let me start with you. That match, that outcome, what did you see?
I'm still a little speechless, to be honest, to think that Vicky pulled it off. She's the first Canadian woman in the Open era, it's 1968, to win in Montreal. It was one dramatic match, but she is very tough. And James, congratulations on all the formative work that you did to help her reach this championship moment.
James, jump in on that. When you say very tough, I mean the mental toughness. Down 3 games to begin, comes back, loses the first set, comes back to win the next 2 and wins on a break of Osaka's service. I mean, it was incredible. What did you think as you were watching what was going on center court?
Well, it was pretty crazy, to be honest. It was a tough match coming in. She took down 3 Grand Slam champions in the past, and she took down Osaka. She won as well, so it's a 4th one. And then she's just so positive and kept coming back. And she was getting a little tight in the first set, right? And then she fought through. She calmed down a bit, and then she added pressure to Osaka. And then Osaka is she got tight as well because the fans are with her. And then you see Osaka get upset, but Vicky was pretty calm and pretty collected. So it's pretty impressive. She's only 18 years old. And she's just kind of chilling the vibe, playing the ball, and then let the coaching come through and just dominated that 3rd set.
It really was impressive. Her first win, Stacey, at a top-level tournament, a WTA 1000. I was going to say, how significant a milestone is this for her?
Well, look, after the Grand Slams, the National Bank Open, as a Masters 1000, is the next highest event. There's only 10 of them in the world. So what it really does is it gives her so many ranking points. Started the year at 333. And as we were talking just before the interview, she's going to be in the top 25 in the world. And what that will mean is she'll get seated at the U.S. Open, which really also is a game changer because it helps to ensure she doesn't play one of those top players right out of the gate.
So think about that prospect, James, ranked 25 in the world now, someone you met as a child and had such an influence at those early ages when she was learning the sport and really playing along with her three siblings who are also tennis players. What do you remember about a very young Victoria Mboko?
Well, even from an early age, when she was like 11, like there was a tournament that I ran in Palgrave where she was beating 16-year-old kids like no problem. She was calm, like cool under pressure. People already knew like she had a good chance, and she's composed, and she wasn't scared like some of the older kids or hitting big serves. Like she dealt with it already from the start. She's just composed early on, and then she just progressed through the ranks, through adversity, through losses around the world. Like she was just calm. Everyone likes her. Fair player. Like who's not to like that? And she's still very humble to this day and doesn't swear. So it's cool.
And still beating older and higher ranked players. This is just par for the course for her. I'm mixing my sports metaphors, but you know what I mean. So, Stacey, the world is learning her story. You'll be familiar with her, but all sorts of profiles. Who is Vicky Mboko? What do you find is the most compelling part of her story?
My takeaway so far, and I agree with James, she is a very humble, confident young woman who is so gritty and a championship mindset at 18. And as James just said, she had it at 11. Those are special qualities that's part of your DNA. And never count her out. You know, it was sort of a similar pattern tonight where she really wasn't in it in the first set. And she turns it around and then converts and wins. It's 4 Grand Slam champions that she beat at the National Bank Open. It's incredible.
You know, people who didn't lose faith in the outcome tonight, I think, James, were her family members. It was such fun to watch her mom and dad there, her siblings. They were just living every point. Wasn't that fun? And of course, that is maybe one of the most compelling parts of her story, how they escaped DRC, Democratic Republic of Congo, to the United States first, and then to Canada, and to you there in Burlington. How much of a role, how significant is her family, her parents, in her story, James?
Well, because the siblings all kind of played tennis, right? So they had like a base, and they went through the tough times, the good times, and Vicky's just been absorbing all the information and listening to her family. The mom is she's entertaining, and she's so humble. The dad is like, you know, he's kind of like the glue, right? But once you see him celebrating, like they're all a tight family and they're all behind one another. It's great to see.
So they'll all be moving on to where you will be, Stacey, in New York for the U.S. Open coming up very soon. Your final in that capacity, running the U.S. Open. Congratulations on all your work done there.
Thank you.
But I want to ask about that, you know, set the stage for Victoria Mboko at the U.S. Open. 2019 was the last time a Canadian won the National Bank Open, the Canadian Open, and we remember who that was. It was Bianca Andreescu, and in 2019 she went on to win the U.S. Open. Could history repeat? What do you think it looks like for Victoria Mboko this time?
Look, I don't want to put that kind of pressure on Vicky, but there is a pattern that when you do well at the National Bank Open, you do well in New York. But let's have her celebrate this moment one match at a time. It's a big stage, but it was incredible to be in that stadium and watch Bianca win, and the same level of composure and competitive mindset Vicky has. So anything is possible, and Vicky has proven that.
I think that's even one of her mantras. Anything is possible. So we will see. Thank you so much, Stacey. James, great to meet you too, and thank you. Really appreciate you both being here tonight.
Thank you, Heather.
Thanks, appreciate it.
Is it time for Canada to build its own car?
The world's changed by people with crazy ideas. So let's follow some crazy ideas.
How the U.S. trade war has some dreaming big. The potential upside to Donald Trump's auto sector insults.
We don't really want cars from Canada.
He's inspiring visions of an all-Canadian car that drivers here could embrace.
Let's give them a Canadian team to cheer for.
But does anyone have the guts or the cash?
And we're talking billions of dollars. Billions.
Nick Purdon recently went to Canada's Motor City, Windsor, Ontario, to ask what it would take to make that dream come true. Here's another look at what he found.
Canada has got to think for itself. Make a vehicle that is one that many Canadians can drive.
You could make $5 or $10 billion disappear and have nothing to show for it.
Do we have the people? Yes. Do we have the know-how? Yes. But do we have the desire and the passion?
Good.
Earlier this year, Prime Minister Mark Carney met with President Donald Trump for the first time. And when that meeting was almost over, Trump said something that really could change Canada forever.
We want to make our own cars. We don't really want cars from Canada. We put tariffs on cars from Canada, and at a certain point, it won't make economic sense for Canada to build those cars.
If Donald Trump were to get what he wants and the Canadian auto industry fails, the repercussions would be massive. By any measure, cars drive our economy. Thousands of jobs, billions in GDP. So what do? Well, what if one of the ways to protect Canadian manufacturing was to build a Canadian car? Is that even feasible? And what would it mean for the country?
Steel comes in on the press.
Meet Rob Wildeboer. He's the co-founder of Martin Ray International, one of the biggest auto part makers in the country.
When I was 7 years old, it was Canada's 100th anniversary. We were the third richest country in the world. At that time, we just built the St. Lawrence Seaway, which was a monumental project. We built the highest tower in the world. We thought big. That's how we got to be thinking here. Think big, make a car, make a great car. So we do a lot of chassis parts, and the chassis is basically the base of the vehicle.
If you're thinking to yourself, we're going to make a car, a Canadian car, isn't that a crazy idea? It turns out Rob kind of agrees with you.
Well, when we started this auto parts company, people said, "What are you doing? We got lots of auto parts companies." They thought we were nuts. They thought I was nuts. I had no auto parts background. The world's changed by people with crazy ideas. So let's follow some crazy ideas and make them successful.
Rob's sure done that with his own company. He co-founded Martin Ray in 2001. 20 plus years later, they now pull in $5 billion in revenue.
We have a lot of wealth in this country, like you said.
It's not just Rob who's interested in the idea. The president of the Automotive Parts Manufacturing Association, Flavio Volpe, is too. He says the expertise to build Canadian already exists. Flavio represents 250 Canadian automotive supply companies.
So we've made 120 million cars in this country since 1904. Okay? So we know how to make cars. We're currently making them for 5 automakers who have heavily invested in this country. We do all this together. If we have everything that will make these companies from the US and Japan and Germany profitable and solid, how is it not true for Canadians? I said, you're nuts.
Listening to Flavio, it's hard not to get caught up in his optimism.
100 million people buy new cars a year. They know that car. They cheer for them like a home team. Let's give them a Canadian team to cheer for. The fastest, the most expensive, the most...
Flavio is calling for a feasibility study into what it would take to build a Canadian car.
Do you think Canadians would buy a Canadian car out of pride?
Yes, the first batch.
Yeah.
And then
it's got to make it on quality. It's got to deliver. It's got to deliver a product. It's got to meet the needs of people.
Yeah. So this is the mini Baja vehicle. Why don't you guys explain what you got here?
Canada can even consider building its own car because of places like this.
A double A-arm setup. We have
the lab at the Automotive Engineering program at the University of Windsor. This is where Peter Fries teaches students how to build a car.
That's the Schrader valve there, so you know it's an air shock.
Peter is an engineer who specializes in automotive. He makes a point of telling his students how tough the business is.
That one was red. So arrive early, stay late, ask good questions, and listen when your boss talks to you.
Peter has given a lot of thought to the idea of a Canadian car, and he has concerns.
I think a lot of people would love to see a Canadian car. I would, but who is going to step forward from the private sector to invest the money to get a big car company going, a credible car company that can make credible products that are competitive in the marketplace? And we're talking billions of dollars, billions.
You know, is this one of those times when you have to separate your heart from your head?
You can't make emotional decisions about money and technology. These are much too complicated, much too expensive to make on an emotional basis. You can see how body structures are put together. All these little dimples here.
Let's say if somebody wanted to design a brand new car, what's the timeline on that?
It takes between 2 and 5 years to design a new car. I mean, you could design and build a great car and have no customers. The car companies compete ferociously to get a few tenths of a % of market share gain. This car company will have no track record, and I'd be concerned that there will not be enough customers to sustain this.
Peter points out that this has actually happened. You may not have heard about it, but in the mid-70s in New Brunswick, they made the Bricklin. At the time, Premier Richard Hatfield said some things that really could apply to Canada today.
We in New Brunswick, in the opinion of many, are not supposed to be in the business of producing automobiles. We are supposed to be hewers of wood and drawers of water. We are supposed to be content with smaller dreams.
The Bricklin was a disaster. It flamed out in a few years. They only built about 3,000 cars.
First of all, don't build a sports car. I love sports cars. I own a sports car, but not very many people buy sports cars.
So the Bricklin is a cautionary tale.
Yes, it's a cautionary tale of what can happen if you build the wrong product in the wrong place and don't have a market. You could make $5 or $10 billion disappear and have nothing to show for it.
That's the risk, and it's a serious one. So is there anyone who would consider investing in a Canadian car?
I am the guy that you would go to say, I have a Canadian solution. I provide the capital for those entrepreneurs who want to build Canada.
Meet John Ruffalo, venture capitalist and founder of Mavericks Private Equity. He backed Shopify from the very beginning. He tells me what he's looking to invest in today.
In the case of Canada right now, our focus on our investment fund is those things that are critical to the sovereignty and security of this country. And transportation is something that is critical. I love the idea or the aspiration of a Canadian car.
John believes that today we shouldn't depend on other countries to build our vehicles. And he sees Trump's threat to Canada's sovereignty as a wake-up call.
President Trump actually gave Canada a gift. It's really the first time that Canada or Canadians are looking back and saying, how did we allow ourselves to get into the vulnerable position that we are in? We're now looking at how do we build things for ourselves. I have never seen more energy in my entire career about Canadians actually building for their own control and mapping out their own destiny.
Whether a Canadian car actually gets built or not, dreaming big again can't be a bad thing.
What would it mean to you if a Canadian car got built?
Well, I'd buy one. I'd buy one, and I'd make sure my kids buy one too. If you think about a Canadian car, it's a symbol of our independence. It's a symbol of our talent. But you have to show it. You got to prove it. Talk is cheap. You got to get it done.
Since Nick first brought you that story, Donald Trump has maintained his indifference to cars made in Canada. Coming up, dolphins trapped in the mud by those famous tides in the Bay of Fundy.
They're really smooth skin and they just glided across the mud and we got them in the water.
How the community of Canning got them back into deep water in our moment. There was a scene in Canning, Nova Scotia. White-sided dolphins enjoying the water until the tide went out and they got stuck. Audley Pinio and other community members spotted their predicament and raced to free them from the mud. They used ropes and their bare hands. Tonight, their mission is our moment.
On the Arbuteau Road, there's the river. There's a bunch of dolphins in the water. There was like 10 or 12 there. They were making sort of a clicking noise. There was another young guy. He jumped into the mud and said, yeah, these guys are stuck. And it was quite hot and the mud was drying on them. And I decided to go get a rope. 3 or 4 others joined in and hooked the rope on the dolphins, and we pulled them through the mud. They're really smooth skinned and they just glided across the mud and we got them in the water. They just kind of let a gasp of air out. They kind of got the mud cleaned off them, and you know, it was quite nice to see. I've never seen them get stuck like that. It was a good feeling. We were all pretty tired. We slept pretty good that night.
Incredible. All the dolphins survived. They were able to corral them and get them out to the deep waters in the Bay of Fundy. And as Audley was saying, the rescuers, they were tired, they were sore and covered in mud. It wasn't exactly how they'd planned to spend the day, but they all agreed they'd do it again. Thank you for being with us. You can watch anywhere, anytime on the free CBC News app and subscribe to the National's YouTube channel. I'm Heather Hiscox. Good night.